It's Don here from the board. Thank you for coming along and checking out this video. So, last time that we had a live stream, those who were actually watching it, those who watched it afterwards, would have seen that I was actually doing a bit of 3D modeling in some software while we were chatting on our podcast. When I had been doing that, I had mentioned in the chat that I was actually creating a plate for my Delta Split 75 build. I don't really sort of have resources easily available to me to get laser cut stuff, and I didn't really want to get a laser cut acrylic case simply because I'm lazy and I didn't want to deal with having to buy screws, and it can be kind of expensive-ish around here in Australia. I know there are group buys that are happening with some other people, particularly through Jollymon, who are going to get some Delta Split 75 sandwich bits done, which is fantastic. But I thought I'd play around and do some modeling and 3D printing myself, since I have a 3D printer. I finished that design, I wrapped it up, I put it into my printer, and out it came. And I thought everything was all hunky-dory until I came to actually test it. Seems like that there was actually an issue because, as you can see, I got a couple of different variants here of what happened with the print, and this is the first one that I did. I had got the layout from the creator of the Delta Split 75, XYXJJ. I put it into KLE, I exported the raw, put it into Swill KB to get the actual plate cutouts, converted them, and printed. When it came to actually testing the fit though, I came across something really weird. And you'll see once I actually put this layer over it, that while the plate holes, if you ignore the bit of rough that's there, when this right-hand top corner is actually aligned, as you progressively travel down, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse to the point where 9 switches later, you're actually half a switch off. And I was just completely blown away by that. I didn't know what was going on. And even on the other axis, you'll also see it's about a quarter of a switch off. So it really threw me out. I had to do a lot of sort of experimentation. I was trying to export in different formats, and then I was importing, and I even managed to contact Swill KB person himself to find out if he knew a particular reason why that might have been happening. And it actually turned out, after all of this and probably about a week of messing around trying to get this happening, that importing into the Autodesk software, I was projecting them as wires into a new part. And by doing that, the actual line widths, the curve cut thickness, it was attaching them end to end rather than overlapping, which meant the thickness of the line was being slowly added into every single line across. So not only did the switch get bigger, but the gaps between the switches got bigger as well, which resulted in this almost sort of 9mm gap that was happening across the whole length of this. Once I figured that out and I started importing into my Autodesk software as a drawing and then copying out the drawing as a sketch and then reworking the sketch, it turned out a lot better, and I thought, okay, this time it should be all right. And then I started to print, but then I had a filament jam and I only ended up printing like 1 millimeter thick. So that kind of failed, which was a bit unfortunate. And I went again, and then I managed to print this one. I thought, all right, it looks good. It's relatively cleanish for my test. But then when I peeled it off the actual bed, I managed to break it. So you can see kind of the internal bits as well. And but I thought, what the heck, I'm going to test it for the fit, just so I know when I print it again, at least it's going to be good. And then I discovered, once again, I have drift. So if I line this up, so the top right hand corner is good. Oh, sorry, wrong way. So the top right hand corner is good. As I get across, it's now too small. So very frustrating, because I know dimensionally this is correct on the drawing. I checked it, I double checked it, everything was right, but because of the shrinkage of ABS plastic and the calibration of the backlash on my printer, things were going not so great. I spent a lot of time doing this. I'd spent a lot of time in terms of the drawing, because I had to restart again with the drawings, and then of course the print time as well. And I was just getting really frustrated, and I thought, you know what? The shrinkage is always going to be an issue if I try and print a full-size bed. There's nothing that I can really do about that without working out the scaling, because the scaling is so minute. Because you can see it's okay here, it's okay here, it's kind of okay here. Now it starts to get a bit on the tight side. Now it's not okay, and then it just, of course, drifts out. But what it made me realize, because I had my switches, I put a couple in against particular points, and they all actually fit. So within 2 to 3 switches, the actual position was fine. It actually fit. And I also kind of realized that when I lined up this side, the vertical axis was actually also pretty good in this direction. And it made me think, how can I possibly take this to my advantage without giving myself more headaches? And so I came up with a piecemeal design. And what I mean by that is I've actually only got corner pieces as such, when some of these will not be plate mounted at all. Now, because the switches are PCB mount switches, and it's a PCB, it's a small PCB, it's very similar to the Ergodox in size, and I know from experience that the amount of flex experienced on the Ergodox is actually not significant. I was confident that I could do something in terms of a build without needing it to be plate mount supported. So I went back to the drawing board, and then I did some cutout bits, and what I ended up with was what's over here, this. Now, this is the actual print items on my MakerBot, and you'll see I've got corner pieces, and then I've got full length pieces for where the actual two halves would join. And I believe that would be enough support to actually keep all the components off the table, as well as support it properly. Now, in hindsight, I could have put in an angle, an actual cut angle on it, but I didn't, just, because trying to figure that out was an optimal angle for me, not terribly fussed. And of course, you can kind of get away with that anyway, depending on if you're going to put sculpted or non-sculpted keycaps. So at least to start with, I just made it a flat design, and there you go. Now, it was actually a very long print. It was estimated by the actual software at 7 hours and 43 minutes, and it actually came out at 6 hours and 22 minutes, so about an hour less than predicted, but still a very long print. And now, what I have, which I haven't actually taken off yet, is this. And this is the actual completed print. Thankfully, it didn't fail. Some of the issues that I've seen from this, though, however, is that there was a little bit of warpage that still happened. So you can see there's a bit of layer separation just there on the corner. There's another bit that had a little bit of layer separation, I think. There was 2 of them. So there was another bit there that's just had a very, very small separation. Not sure if it's picking up on the camera or not, because the camera's not focusing. Okay, won't waste too much time on that. And the other issue is being able to have walls that were thick enough. Now, because the walls print at a 0.4 millimeter thickness, and these were just on sort of just over 0.5 mil, you'll see some of these walls are practically not walls. They're just very thin single line strands, whereas similar walls, on the other hand, actually ended up with double lines. So once again, that's just a matter of sort of settings and software and understanding that, so for modeling purposes. But what we're going to do right now here while we're on the video is I'm actually going to pop them off, and then we're going to try on video a test fit. If it works, fantastic. If it doesn't, then at least you'll see the frustration on my face, because once I pop these off, I can't re-record this video. Of course, yes, I can re-record it, but it wouldn't be the same as showing you firsthand what I've done. So this is 6 hours of work printing, which really isn't that much work, but I do have to monitor my printer because of filament jams and spool jams and things like that, as well as the several hours of work in actually cutting, rearranging, designing, and so forth. So let's see if these will actually come off cleanly. That's the other issue, if they will come off or not without too much hassle. Crackly plastic. Ooh. Might need to do a bit of cleaning afterwards on these. That's the only problem that I find with printing with rafts is I can never get the right setting to give me really clean lifts off my rafts. I don't know what I can do about that, but that's just something over time I guess I'll have to get better at predicting and estimating. Whoa. So we can see at least some of the raft is coming off, and some of the raft isn't coming off. Now hopefully, of course, if I break and damage some of these pieces, you're probably going to see me cry, because a 6-hour print plus all of this plastic going to waste is enough to make this grown man cry. Now that's a little bit messy. Alrighty. So we got one piece off. There's 2 pieces. There's plastic going everywhere. I have the door closed so that my little one can't get in here and start picking up and eating and ingesting all these little shards of plastic until I've had an opportunity to clean them up. Now, of course, because some of these bits are flying around, and if you are new to doing 3D printing, you should also consider having maybe some safety glasses when you do this kind of thing. And ow, that really hurt. I do wear glasses, so it kind of acts as an impromptu pair of safety glasses in a pinch. There's another piece that's come off. Well, the major backing's come off. There we go. And now it's just peeling the rest of that off. And then last bits and little bits. Alright, so I'm making a right mess everywhere. Now, this is ABS plastic, which means it is actually technically recyclable, so don't worry. I will have this all collected up and it'll go into the recycling bin. Just peeling some of these long frilly bits off. But you know what? Let's start with probably the one that's got the least bits of on it, and we can give it a try. Now, there is actually left and right pieces for these, but I'll have to have a look at the PCBs to figure out which one it is. Only because I didn't have any sort of easy way of marking this when I was designing them and creating them. Although technically I probably could have had a diagram indicating where they were on the grid, so when I took them off the grid, I would know what they are. But of course, hindsight is always better, isn't it? Now, why did I go to this level of detail? Why did I go to the level of this this pain and bother? You might notice that my actual cutouts are designed for switch opening, and that's pretty much it. Do I need switch opening? I don't need it, but I thought, you know what? It'd just probably be fun to have anyway. The original drawings that were released, the case files that were released by XYXJJ, were just straight switch mounts. They didn't have the switch opening in them, so I thought I'd just take that little bit of extra step with it and actually put in the switch opening star. So that's really the only real reason why I kind of put myself through this torture. Okay, we're almost cleaned up enough to be able to mount this in. Almost. I must say the settings this time for the raft weren't too bad, because I have been progressively playing with it, trying to make it a little bit easier after I ripped the top off one of those prints that I showed earlier. Yeah, that was a little bit disheartening when I was peeling the raft off and it just went crack and it all came apart. So there you go, it's clean. It seems to sit on the table surface okay. I can kind of press on it and it's not really going anywhere. Now let's bring up my 2 PCBs. There we go. Now we know that it's not going to be that corner piece because it's going to be the PCBs in the way, and we know that it's not this corner piece because it doesn't seem to line up at all. So I'm hoping it's going to be a corner piece for one of these two. So it can line up to there. and it can line up to there as well. Now, from memory, one of these has a thinner piece, which is this one, and that one actually is the top corner piece. So I'm pretty sure this is the bottom one. Let's get a couple of my switches out. We'll need 3 for that bottom corner. I'm intending to build this with tactile grays, cherry tactile grays. So the pins are always on the top for this particular build by the looks of it, except for the spacebar ones down there. You know what? That can't be possible because the orientation of the switch opening, that has to be the top corner. So, you know, we'll still mount it in the top corner. Let's get these switches in. Come on, you can do it. Oh, please don't tell me it's not big enough. Oh no. All right, let's just try another one. This is when the heartbreak might start showing at 6.5 hours of work, and the shrinkage is going to kill me. I managed to get them to fit the other one, so that's why I'm not sure. Oh, there we go. It's in. It's very bloody tight. Oh, what just happened to my switch? Oh wow. Okay. It's so tight that the actual switch is not returning up. Look at that. How insane is that? So I think that means the video is going to have to end, and I'm going to go off into the corner and cry a little bit because I've just gone and spent 6 hours. I've made a lovely print, and I think it's no good. Now I've got to figure out how to get my switch back out, which is so bizarre because, well, there's the switch back out, and it's working. Huh. I'm going to try another one. Just because you should always do that. And you know what? It's not going to fit either. Damn. Whew. Alright. That's a bust. That's an absolute bust. But now, from this plate that you see here that's got that ripped corner to this piece, I did not change anything on the drawing. Nothing changed on the drawing. So if I'm assuming that, and I pop these in, it goes in, and the switch works, and it returns. So I'm a little bit sad right now. Because I've just spent most of my Saturday waiting for this print, and it's a bust. It's a bust. It's a bust. Eesh. It might be fixable. What I will do, because it looks so close. Like if I just hold that up, I don't know if the camera is going to want to focus on it. There we go. All that. It's so bloody close. Now you can see the discoloring here. That's what happened when I forced it in. It actually flexed the plastic. Now that plastic is really hard. I mean, it's ABS, so it's Lego plastic, so you know it's hard, right? I might try and file it down, and then try the fit again. Now, if it does work, then it just means I've got a lot of grunt work to actually file these before they fall in. And if it doesn't work, then I'm going to continue to cry. So that's what happens when you experiment. That's what happens when you go out on a limb and you go for a design. But you know what? I'm okay with that. That's just how life is. That's just how the cookie crumbles. But I'm just going to show you, had this been successful, what it could have potentially been like, because that would have fit on that, just like that. And then one of these corner pieces, that one, yeah, it would have fit just like that. So they would have mounted on, and then it would have been held and supported by those three pieces like that for the right hand side. But you know what? That's okay. It's still not 100% confirmed that it's dead, but it's just, there's a possibility. And you know, I should probably fit this this mating just because, and oh, it's tight, but also with a little bit of light filing, I think the mating might also work too. So, and these were cut exactly in the model to suit. So, bit of flex happening to get that in, but I think that's just because the corner bulges come out. Well, I'm kind of sorry that I wasn't able to go any further and demonstrate this happening and working. Whether I do a second video or not depends on how long it's going to take for me to actually sand down and give it a test fit without cuddling up in a corner and rolling around with tears, or not, and we'll see how that goes. Now I'm going to wrap up now. Last week we had some suggestions, had some requests from people to consider a Patreon account. We are still thinking about it, we're still discussing it, but we still need and would love to have your feedback. Would you support a Patreon? How much would you be interested in supporting with? What kind of things would you be wanting as rewards? Do you even want tiers? You know, is there a question of integrity, of, you know, if we aren't able to provide things but we're still asking for money? You know, there's a lot of really complex issues at hand when doing something like a Patreon and subscriber system. So we don't really want to just blindly wander into it, and we don't want to let you guys, our fans, our listeners, our watchers down with this. So please, please, please give us your feedback, because we would love to hear your thoughts and feelings about it. All right. Now we are still sitting around 660 odd subscribers. We're only 40 subscribers away from our 700 subscriber giveaway, where we will be giving away the last of our Movember keycaps before, of course, I really need to get on and start sculpting this year's Movember keycap. And the keycap that will be sending off somewhere is going to be this particular red nose mo, which I don't know if the camera really wants to play ball and focus in on it. There we go. There's the red nose mo. It is a MX mount switch keycap, so artisan. There you go. 700 subscribers, and we'll open up that giveaway. So thanks very much for coming along. Really sorry you didn't really get to see a bit more of what was happening here, but I guess you got to experience the pain and anguish with me. All right, I'm gonna pretty much wrap it there. So, as usual, of course, until next time, happy clacking.